They have weapons of mass destruction. That is what this war was about. Saddam Hussein possesses biological and chemical weapons. In fact, that there are weapons there. You've heard the president say repeatedly that he has chemical and biological weapons.
Continues to possess and conceal some of the most lethal weapons ever devised. The British government has learned that Saddam Hussein recently sought significant quantities of uranium from Africa.
There is no doubt that Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction.
They have weapons of mass destruction. That is what this war was about.
There is no doubt that he is amassing them to use against our friends, against our allies, and against us.
Saddam Hussein is a homicidal dictator who is addicted to weapons of mass destruction.
In their defining document, written in September of 2000, a full year before 9/11, they acknowledge that the process of transformation, even if it brings revolutionary change, is likely to be a long one, absent, in their own chilling words, some catastrophic and catalyzing event, like a new Pearl Harbor. 1 year later, that event would arrive.
But I couldn't breathe at all. I tried really hard to talk.
There's an airplane that crashed into the Pentagon.
Coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war. These are opening stages of what will be a broad and concerted campaign. Our nation enters this conflict, yet our purpose is sure. The people of the United States and our friends and allies an outlaw regime that threatens the peace with weapons of mass murder. War is forced upon us.
To Americans, the war in Iraq was made to seem all but inevitable.
This nation fights reluctantly because we know the cost.
But what did Americans know?
Decider, and I decide what is best.
Saddam Hussein certainly has chemical and biological weapons. There's no question about that.
We come to Iraq, we have no ambition in Iraq. We come to Iraq, we have no ambition in Iraq.
As U.S. military involvement ends, it's important to remember the how and why it began.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are not assertions, these are facts, corroborated by many sources.
Those indisputable facts were not. The weapons of mass destruction were never found.
We've learned that Iraq has trained al-Qaeda members in bomb making.
Certainly by the time of the invasion, it was a very clear analytical conclusion within the U.S. government that there really had been no operational link between al-Qaeda and Saddam Hussein.
There are known knowns. There are things we know we know. We also know there are known unknowns.
5 years of war in Iraq have claimed many thousands of lives, including those of more than 4,000 US soldiers. But there's also been a huge economic cost, not just for Iraq, but for US taxpayers too. That cost works out at $16,500 per household, if the calculations made by these members of Congress and announced on the day Americans pay their taxes are correct. Signs that the US is entering one of the most uncertain economic periods in recent times are appearing here every day, and with recession fears looming, US voters say it's the financial aspect of the war in Iraq that's increasingly their biggest concern.
That's money that can be going to these streets that's turning up cars that you have to spend more tax money on.
Whereas we're getting nothing for it.
That's taken away from housing authority, them helping the homeless or anything. That's taking away a lot of money that we really need on an everyday basis.
Americans were told the war wouldn't really be expensive. Oil revenue would pay for reconstruction. That didn't happen. The U.S. government is putting the figure for combat at around $800 billion.
These estimates are based on what the Iraq war has already cost US taxpayers. But the real concern here is that the bill will keep on climbing as the US faces a recession.
So in that sense, regardless of how it began, the burden of war will not end